Welcome to our discussion on girl relationships, where we delve into the myriad of everyday challenges individuals encounter. Let's delve into the narrative. From a tender age, my sister leaned solely on me for support. Our familial backdrop was fractured, with one parent fleeting early on, and the other ensnared in a relentless cycle of addiction. In navigating this tumult, I assumed a premature maturity, shielding my sister from the brunt of our circumstances. I resorted to pilfering from our mother to ensure sustenance and utility bills were met. By the age of 13, I secured a part-time occupation, recognizing our reliance on maternal provisions was untenable. Upon graduating, I immediately undertook dual employment, and we emancipated from our familial confines. Guiding my sister through her high school years was taxing, compounded by our hand-to-mouth existence. Eventually, at 19, she graduated, albeit a year behind schedule. Her demeanor shifted, and she too entered the workforce, securing her own abode by the age of 21. Amidst this, I seized an opportunity to pursue higher education, culminating in a degree and a more promising vocation. Alas, my ascent was interrupted by the pandemic's onset, swiftly transitioning from professional advancement to unemployment. In dire straits, facing imminent eviction, I turned to my sister, the presumed bastion of support. Regrettably, my plea for temporary respite was met with refusal. Subsequently, I found myself destitute, saved from the streets only by the grace of accommodating friends. Temporarily, I settled into a room among strangers, eventually securing employment in my chosen field, thereby stabilizing my circumstances. Nevertheless, the rejection lingered, festering into a year-long estrangement. Despite myriad attempts at reconciliation from my sister, including impassioned pleas from her husband, I remained reticent. The birth of her child and subsequent efforts at communication failed to breach the wall of resentment erected by her earlier dismissal. For me, that pivotal moment crystallized the irrevocable fracture in our relationship, prompting a decisive conclusion to our familial ties. The chapter of my life unfolds with a tinge of remorse, yet not enough to sway my resolve. Even in the midst of my predicament, both friends and my girlfriend converge, admonishing me to extend forgiveness to my sister. Initially empathetic, they've now shifted their stance, branding me with the unenviable title of an a-hole. But let me assert, the prerogative to initiate reconciliation rests solely with me. It's not their jurisdiction nor prerogative to coerce me into an interaction I'm not emotionally equipped for. If their concern for me is genuine, they ought to desist from meddling and allow me the autonomy to navigate my emotions at my own pace. I dispatch a solitary message to my sister, elucidating that while the door to a future relationship isn't sealed shut, I implore her to respect my need for temporal and spatial distance to grapple with the betrayal I feel. I pledge to reconnect when and if I deem it appropriate, not a moment sooner. Her persistence only exacerbates my reluctance, driving a wedge deeper into our already strained bond. Seeking solace, I embark on a journey of introspection through counseling, discerning the extent of emotional investment I'm willing to allocate to her. Should my girlfriend and friends persist in their coercion, their motivations reveal themselves as selfish endeavors rather than genuine concern for my well-being, warranting an unequivocal shutdown. It strikes a chord of skepticism within me. Why does my sister seek reconciliation now, conveniently after I've regained stability? Is it an earnest desire for amends, or merely a ploy to exploit my newfound stability for her own convenience? Perhaps to alleviate the burdens of childcare or financial obligations by invoking the role of the obliging uncle? Reflecting on the magnitude of sacrifices made throughout my formative years to nurture her growth, I arrive at a stark realization: I've relinquished enough. It's time to prioritize my own needs, to safeguard my emotional well-being, an act of self-preservation long overdue. I owe her no tranquility of conscience. Her incessant badgering, coupled with her husband's entreaties, betray ulterior motives. A sincere apology requires no coercion. It stands alone, devoid of expectation or manipulation. I align with the sentiments of fellow commentators. It's imperative to assert boundaries and unequivocally communicate to all parties involved that their interference is unwarranted. As for my sister, my message is clear. I've sacrificed immeasurably for her, but my obligations end where my emotional well-being begins. The willingness to let me teeter on the brink of homelessness crystallizes an irreparable rupture in our relationship. Forgiveness feels elusive, and our dynamic has irrevocably shifted. Whether reconciliation lies in the distant future remains recently, I prioritize self-preservation, a novel focus in my life. I implore you to honor my need for space and refrain from further contact. Should I ever entertain the prospect of reconnecting, rest assured, I will initiate it myself. As for any reciprocal support, that ship has sailed. I extend my apologies for the delayed response to the multitude of comments. The overwhelming response caught me off guard, compounded by the subreddit's restriction on further engagement. I appreciate the advice and support conveyed by the community. The initial refusal lacked coherent justification. Her husband's objection came to light later. Speculation about her pregnancy's influence on her decision is unfounded, as the events transpired before she even knew she was pregnant. Assertions regarding personal hygiene or vaccination beliefs are baseless. My adherence to hygiene and vaccination protocols is steadfast. The advice often presupposes a functional family structure, which is not reflective of my reality. The crux of my anguish lies in the realization that my sacrifices have gone unreciprocated, unlike the conventional familial dynamics assumed in some comments. The situation with my sister, someone I didn't have a hand in creating nor any parental responsibility for, takes on a weight beyond a mere familial dispute. It's a blatant betrayal. To those who argue that she owes me nothing because I chose to be a parent figure, I say this. Her refusal to offer support, especially when I reached out as the last resort, cuts deeper than any familial expectation. Having set that straight, I followed advice from multiple sources. I made it clear to my girlfriend and friends, those who involved themselves in the situation or were dragged in by my sister, that they needed to back off or risk losing contact with me. They may never fully comprehend my perspective, and I've come to terms with that. While I had individual discussions, ultimately, one friend persisted, leading to the end of our friendship. On the other hand, my girlfriend and most friends were apologetic or understanding, willing to drop the subject. In composing my response to my sister, I poured my heart out in a lengthy email, leaving no stone unturned as I delved into the depths of my emotions. I meticulously detailed the profound impact of her rejection on my psyche, laying bare the raw wounds that her actions had inflicted upon me. Moreover, I painstakingly enumerated the countless sacrifices and efforts I had made throughout our lives to provide her with care and support, highlighting the depth of my commitment to our relationship. In no uncertain terms, I conveyed to her that regardless of any external influences, whether it be her husband or other circumstances, their role in her decision held no significance to me. What truly pierced my heart was her failure to stand up for me, to advocate for my well-being, and to offer the same level of support and compassion that I had unconditionally extended to her over the years. This profound sense of betrayal cut to the core of our bond, shattering the trust and foundation upon which our relationship once stood. Furthermore, I made it explicitly clear that my disinterest in meeting her child or entertaining the prospect of rekindling our relationship was not a fleeting sentiment but a firm stance that emanated from the depths of my being. Any potential shift in this stance would not stem from external pressures or influences but would solely be dictated by my own volition and readiness to reconsider. By articulating these sentiments with unwavering clarity and resolve, I sought to establish firm boundaries and reclaim agency over my own emotional well-being. I refused to allow external forces or expectations to dictate the trajectory of my healing journey. Instead, I asserted my autonomy and affirmed my right to prioritize self-care and self-preservation above all else. In essence, my email served as a cathartic expression of my innermost thoughts and feelings, a testament to my unwavering resolve to confront the pain of betrayal head-on and forge a path forward on my own terms. I left her with a parting lesson, underscoring the painful realization I've had to endure. In essence, I've chosen to move forward, leaving the door slightly ajar. Despite her persistent responses, I've remained silent, as I've nothing more to convey. In closing, I express gratitude for the support and insights shared by those who responded to my post. To those who offered similar sentiments, I thank you for your understanding. It's evident that in times of adversity, fair weather family and friends who abandon you at the first sign of inconvenience are unnecessary burdens. Empathy, not abandonment, should be the cornerstone of our relationships. The act of extending your trust and offering your couch to someone in dire need costs very little, yet its significance in cementing the bonds of trust and friendship is immeasurable. Original poster. I wish to express my sincerest hopes for your well-being and resilience as you navigate through this challenging ordeal. Your approach to this situation exemplifies not only strength but also a commendable clarity in setting firm boundaries and articulating your sentiments to your sister. Indeed, even if she were to attribute her actions to her husband's influence, it doesn't absolve her of the fundamental responsibility to advocate for you, especially given the profound sacrifices you've made for her throughout your lives. It's apparent that her continued attempts to reach out are motivated more by convenience rather than genuine remorse or understanding of the gravity of her actions. In light of this, I would suggest considering employing phone blockers or filtering emails to a separate folder to shield yourself from any unwanted or emotionally taxing contact. Your decision to stand firm in the face of betrayal and hurt is entirely volley. Seeking therapy to navigate these complex emotions is a wise step toward healing and self-understanding. Reflecting on your situation, I can't help but empathize deeply with your perspective. While the circumstances may have shaped your expectations of reciprocity from your sister, it's crucial to acknowledge the broader context and the complexities of human relationships. While your sacrifices for her were indeed significant, it's important to recognize that they don't inherently obligate her to reciprocate in the same manner. However, her refusal to offer support when you needed it most undoubtedly feels like a profound betrayal, and it's entirely understandable that you're grappling with feelings of hurt, anger, and disappointment. Transitioning to another narrative, the betrayal you experienced at a young age due to your mother's infidelity must have been incredibly traumatic and emotionally taxing. To witness your father's pain and subsequent withdrawal from his social circle, as well as his struggles with depression and trust issues, undoubtedly placed a heavy burden on your shoulders. Stepping into the role of caretaker for your father amidst his emotional turmoil and upheaval must have been incredibly challenging and may have left lasting scars on your own psyche. It's been approximately 8 years since I last spoke to my mom, and the last words I uttered to her were that she was finished with me. The memory of the turmoil she inflicted upon both me and my dad remains vivid, leaving me with little desire to reconnect with her. Eventually, she married my dad's friend, a fact that only adds to the complexity of our strained relationship. I vividly recall her audacity in sending me an invitation to their wedding, a gesture that only reinforced my resolve to keep my distance. Despite having blocked her number and removed her from my social media, she recently sent me a letter. In it, she expressed regret for the pain she caused my dad and me, acknowledging that she missed out on significant moments in my life. She extended an invitation to meet, assuring me that her husband would not be present, emphasizing that it would be just the two of us. Caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, I find myself grappling with the decision of whether to maintain my stubborn resolve or entertain the possibility of reconciliation. While my dad refrained from speaking ill of my mom, instead internalizing his pain and withdrawing from his social circle, I opted to sever ties with her without offering a chance for dialogue. The prospect of meeting her stirs a curious blend of apprehension and intrigue within me. On one hand, I am hesitant to reopen old wounds, yet on the other, I acknowledge the absence of closure stemming from our lack of communication. This internal struggle leaves me feeling indecisive, unsure of which path to pursue. The comments I've received offer varying perspectives, each urging me to prioritize my well-being while considering the potential benefits and drawbacks of reconnecting with my mother. They remind me that forgiveness does not equate to forgetting or condoning past actions, yet holding on to hate can be equally detrimental to my own mental health. Ultimately, the decision rests with me, and I must take the time to reflect, weighing the implications of each choice before moving forward. As you grapple with the weighty decision before you, it's crucial not to succumb to any sense of haste. Your mother's desire to reconnect should not impose any sense of urgency upon you. She can wait patiently until you attain the clarity you seek. Given her remarriage and continued partnership, it's reasonable to surmise that any attempt at reconnection would likely involve her spouse. Consequently, if you do entertain the notion of meeting and potentially rebuilding your relationship, establishing clear and firm boundaries is paramount. These boundaries should serve as a protective barrier, allowing you to remove them gradually as you navigate the journey forward. Moreover, It might prove beneficial to engage in a mature conversation with your dad before reaching a decision. By doing so, you can ensure that he is fully informed of your intentions, provide him with the opportunity to express his perspective, and ensure that everything is transparent and above board. Regardless of the path you ultimately choose, it's essential to remember that you are not alone in facing estrangement from one or both parents. While some individuals reconcile, others do not, and both outcomes are valid. Here's a piece of advice: consider hearing your mother out at least once. By doing so, you alleviate the burden of wondering whether you've given her a fair chance to explain herself. However, it's crucial to avoid holding the conversation at her home, as doing so could inadvertently place you at a disadvantage. During the discussion, refrain from divulging the impact her behavior has had on you until after she has shared her perspective. This approach allows you to retain control over the direction of the conversation and provides you with the opportunity to express your feelings in a manner that aligns with your needs. Remember, you are under no obligation to validate her statements, and sharing the impact her actions have had on you serves as your justification. It's important to recognize that maintaining estrangement may lead to potential mental distress later in life. However, embarking on the path of reconciliation also carries its own uncertainties. Ultimately, the choice lies with you, and I wish you the best of luck as you navigate this challenging journey.